university-run organization down there, mission trip for Kent State beat us. They had 400, but they're a little bigger than us, so we let it go. Our mission, which we've had a debate quite regularly with our board of advisors, they want something really specific. We keep it as generic as possible to help make the world a better place, and that's all it is. That way we can do almost anything, almost anywhere. We have some guiding principles or mantras or whatever you want to call them that we talk about all the time. Better, not perfect. I think they probably get sick of me saying that. We can't make things perfect for these people that we go to help, but we can make things a lot better, and that's what we try to do. Another one is it's better to go and not be needed than to not go and be needed. And when we're debating whether to go to wherever, the next trip, etc., we always have this debate, and usually it's happening immediately after a storm or a tornado or whatever, and the people aren't organized enough to say, yes, we need you. So very regularly we go, occasionally we've gotten there with no idea where we're staying, what we're doing, etc. We just go and show up and get to work. My favorite example of that was and Jerry will vouch for this, we were on a bus going down to Mississippi. It was spring break, we were all ready to go. I had called the bus company that morning and said, you know, I'm not exactly sure where we're going yet. We're going to make some changes. So literally we were going to Mississippi the night before in Enterprise, Alabama. They had been hit with a tornado. It had wiped out the school. It killed 8 or 9 people. And 8 students, 9 people overall. We went about in Cleveland. I got a text message, hey, we have a room for you. So we rerouted in transit and ended up in Enterprise, Alabama. And the people were absolutely amazed, just shocked that a group from New York could get there that quickly. Another thing, and this probably comes from my background in finance and economics, what we do has to be economically justified. I'm not going to send people out to just busy work. And we've a couple times we have not gone on trips because it just didn't make economic sense. So while it's fun, etc., we're not doing it for that. It has to be fun. Another thing, and we want to talk economics or finance, I mean, I'm not paying these people. No one gets paid to do this. And if it's not a win-win, I mean, it's almost the broadest definition of free trade. Both sides have to be winning in this thing, or we're not going to be doing it. So it is fun, and I think you guys will probably vouch for that. Most of the time, it's just a blast. I think it's probably the most fun thing I do. In fact, I don't think I know it. Another thing, that no one will outwork us. I am very convinced of that. From the very first crew we went down, they set the bar very high, and it has not changed. When we go to a site, I tell everyone, please give us your worst job. Find the job that no one else wants to do, give it to us and we'll do it. And we've got some bad ones, consequently. Another one that I say all the time is no one is perfect, but everyone has something to add. Everyone has value to add, we just don't know it necessarily. And if someone is not doing, is just not fitting in, it's probably my fault that I haven't found a job for that person. We should be able to find something for everyone, and usually do. And most important thing that we do is often not the physical labor that we're doing. You're going to see lots and lots of pictures of physical work, etc. But I think in overriding almost every trip, what we do is we're bringing hope. Even if it's 2 days after the storm. An example was in Buffalo, and this has been played over and over and over again. The ice storm in Buffalo, snowstorm in Buffalo, October surprise, whatever you want to call it, back in 2006. We got up there. We were there 2 days after the storm, and people were literally saying, we thought the world had forgotten about us. It was 2 days, folks. But that idea is everywhere you go, whether it's in Haiti, which wasn't an official BonaResponds trip, and that slipped out, but wherever it was, wherever we go, we're bringing hope, we're revitalizing them and getting them ready to go again. Some notable events that stick out that most people remember, the big trip, which we now call it, had 286 volunteers for spring break 2006. That was one of 9 trips to the Gulf Coast. And I think one of the things that makes me most proud of that is we were still going down long after people had forgotten it. It wasn't in the paper. It wasn't exciting, sexy, or anything else anymore. We were going down and still working. And I think that's sort of been almost become our, I'm not sure what you want to call it, the way we do things. We're still working in Haiti. We're still doing lots of things long after it's out of the news. The Buffalo storm in 2006, which I mentioned before, This was the first time we ran our own site. We were up there for 6 different weekends. We provided the model. It proved to me that the model would work. Before that, I wasn't sure. And I was convinced after that point that we could do this. Enterprise, Alabama, we already talked about. That was in 2007. The Texas trips, we were down there for Hurricane Ike. Hurricane Ike hit in the late September, in September of 2008. We were there in 2009 in January, and then our spring break trip also that year. And what was interesting about that, and the reason I really put that in, not only, it was the first trip that we showed that we could do it without driving people by bus. It was meet us at an airport somewhere, somehow get there, we will meet, we'll pick you up, it was totally a virtual organization, a virtual trip. We met people at airports, they flew in, and it worked wonderfully. In 2009, I got a call, actually it was a text from a student, and he said, and a direct quote was, I hate to sound pushy or selfish, but this was early in the morning. I hate to sound selfish, but my town got hit really hard last night, and it looks like pictures of New Orleans. Do you think BonaResponds could do something? And I hadn't heard any news at all. I had no idea what was going on in Rwanda. So I called Larry Orsini, many of you know. Larry Orsini had retired at that point. He went over that morning. He was already on the way to Buffalo, so he rerouted over to Rwanda and called me about, I would say, noon and said, yes, we should be here. And that set off. We were in Rwanda for about 3 weeks, 4 weeks, something like that. I'm not exactly sure how long we went there. And that was really a wonderful experience. Also at that time, we were very busy in home building. In 2009 and 2010, we helped build 4 homes in western New York. Buffalo, Friendship, West Clarksville, and Machias. We were never the lead, I don't know what you want to call it, contractor, but we were pretty close, especially in Friendship. The person who helped us owned the house. They had lived for about 2 years in an 18-foot trailer. So, I mean, it's just staggering, the living conditions, and now they have a home. And it is really cool because he is now, I guess you want to call it a consultant for us, that I call it probably once every other week at least. Hey, how do you do this, whatever it is? And he always knows. I don't understand, but he always knows. So shout out to Little Chief. Haiti, we all know, probably most of you know. Oh, sorry, Buffalo Day, skip Buffalo Day. 5 years ago, this is our 5th day, our 5th year, we've gone to Buffalo and worked with volunteers and alumni up there. It started out for the first 2 years just Buffalo Day. That is now launched into International Service Day, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. Haiti has been just a whole division by ourselves. We've actually ended up spinning off a division. Haiti, we fed, the big thing that most of you are familiar with, we fed 113,000 meals. In Riley Center, we put it together. It was just a wonderful experience. We've shipped about 52 pallets of, you name it. You can read it, but virtually anything. Sports goods, school equipment, medical equipment, tools. We're working on computers, you name it, we've shipped it. And we've gotten exceedingly, almost overwhelming, even though it doesn't show up as often in the news, etc., doing things locally. Locally, we started out doing things once a semester. My idea was to recreate the environment of the Gulf Coast, where we would have people camping out and doing it. No one wanted to camp out. I'm still surprised at that. I thought it would have been fun. But what happened was we were doing things once a semester. Then it got really hard if you were doing a wheelchair ramp to say, sorry guys, we'll be back in 6 months to finish this. So it went to, well, most of the weeks, and then right now it's every week. We do something, usually every Saturday, Sunday, all year round, and in the summer, not just weekends. So we do ramps, roofs, porches, painting, toilets, handicap, you name it. I really don't know anything we don't do. And it's wonderful, it's great, it's fun. We've also, so that's the here. There, we have spurred some other groups that have started that are modeled after us. We are modeled, and I should preface this, we are modeled after Hands On USA, which then became Hands On Disaster Response, which is now All Hands. So if you go to hands.org, you see what we started at, and they are large, they are now international working. They just ended in Japan and Haiti, they're now working in Indonesia. And that is our model, and they are still, several of their people are on our board, etc. So we're very close tied with them. So to the degree that they spurred us, we have spurred in Dallas. There is a group that is now BonaResponds Dallas. Started by a 1966 graduate, Bill, most of you, some of you may know, Bill Hammond. And he has a group with his church and some others that at least once a season go out and do things in their community. They've also joined us on several trips. This past year they were in Alabama with us. Chicago now, Tom Cullen has started a group out there with the alumni, and they do things usually twice a year. They also joined us on our Iowa trip. Villa Maria, Villa Volunteers, the Catskills, some of you may remember the Catskills. They were here, they were active with us. Their mom was so impressed that she works at Villa Maria, they started the same type thing up there. John Fisher, they're doing stuff now. And it actually was getting so overwhelming in, I guess, September after Hurricane Irene and Lee hit. I got, in 1 week, we had 4 different phone calls from different schools that were trying to set up something along these lines. High schools, etc. So lots of people are copying us, which is great. I think one of our coolest events is what we call International Service Day, so that is the everywhere. I've been joking, and I told a couple reporters that I think we should really change the name of it. Instead of service, that seems a bad connotation. It's International Do a Good Deed and Share It with Others Day. It's open to everyone, wherever you are, whoever you are around the globe. My mental picture of this is very much like tracking Santa on New Year's Eve. Tracking Santa is a lot easier. It's easier. But on Christmas Eve, if you track, where he goes around the globe that day. It's a very similar thing here. We're tracking good deeds around the globe. So I'll tell you, 2 years ago we had Cambodia, China, several places in Europe, Kenya, Uganda, and Ghana. And what was happening was, so the people in Singapore were working, and then they would sign off essentially, and someone in Europe would sign on. And it was really cool to be able to follow and know for the entire day that someone you were connected with was out helping, was out working. It was just a really cool experience. So this year we've limited it only to the Milky Way. I don't want people out of the Milky Way. But some of the places we have, and I was trying to do them alphabetically, but at this time it was about 3:30, 4 o'clock, and I gave up after a while. But Athens, Buffalo, Chicago, Charlotte's in there as well. Dallas, Dora, Alabama, and then I gave up. Rochester, Tuscaloosa, Pittsburgh, etc., etc. You guys can all read them. But pretty much anywhere. And they're really, it's a cool day. The purpose of the day, it's multifaceted. Clearly the #1 overriding thing is to make the world better. I mean, that's the #1 reason to do it. But I also want to show that people are people. And I'm working pretty hard at getting some countries that generally don't do things like this. Yesterday, or do things that we don't hear about. I am pretty close to getting Afghanistan. I have Pakistan. I am reasonably close to getting Syria. If I get Syria, I'm going to move heaven and earth to get Israel. And I really want to show that everyone does things and that we're a lot more alike than it shows up most of the time. We also want to show that problems are not, impossible. They are, they're not insurmountable. Many hands make lighter work. Too often, I think we look at a problem and we say, that's impossible, I can't do it. Well, that may be true. You can't do it. But with other people working on the same thing, I think we can get through it. And I want to show that lots of people are doing this. And the people who are out doing this get lonely. So I want them to see that other people are doing things as well. And to remind everyone that they have skills that they can help and work with others. So, and of course, the last thing is to have fun. And I think it will be a blast. I mean, it is just, we have every way to share things possible. I mean, you can call in and leave voice messages. We have pictures, videos, write blogs. I mean, there's any way that people are going to share this, and we're going to get things from all over the place. Some of my past favorite jobs, just to quickly, I thought I had a slide in it, but I guess I don't. Some of my past favorite jobs, we worked in Haiti, we had a group working in Haiti. They cleaned a park in Chicago and in Charlotte. In Dallas, what they're doing, and again doing this year, they take people out to a horse range, a dude range, whatever you want to call it, and they take handicapped kids and they put them on horses and they ride them and they just have an absolute blast. But at all those, in Buffalo, we'll probably have on the order of 100, 150 people working. Rochester this year, there's lots of different places. But one of my favorite jobs actually comes from the town of Cattaraugus. And the Cullen parents were so impressed with what they were doing in Chicago and the whole day, they wanted to be part of it. And they didn't know what they could do. So they decided, they found out that one of their friends who was in a nursing home was having a birthday. So they made him a cake, and they took it to the nursing home, and they had cake for him on his birthday in a nursing home. And that, to me, sums up International Service Day. It doesn't need to be a huge project. It can just be something to help others. And I think that is, I would like everyone to be involved in that. Okay, now my finance hat. By the numbers, and these numbers are approximate. I mean, I have to tell you that up front that this was, again, 4 o'clock this morning by this point, and I wasn't exactly sure. But we do activities about 120 days a year. That's actual work activities. And it's interesting what I don't call work. We don't call scouting jobs work. I don't call lining up jobs, talking to donors, making presentations, printing newsletters, any of that stuff work. That's fun. The actual, if we count those, it's 365. There's no question. There's not a day that goes by that I'm not doing something with BonaResponds or others aren't doing something with BonaResponds. We've worked in 14 states now and multiple trips to many of them. Alabama, we've been 3 times. Arkansas, Iowa twice. Mississippi 8 times, etc. You can read Massachusetts, Missouri, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, Texas, Louisiana, South Carolina, Georgia, and New Jersey. All told, we've had about 40 trips. This is just, not anything talking about local stuff, about 40 trips. And the longest trip we've done is a 2-week trip. Now I was trying to be cool and do 4, 5, 6. Notice that, so be impressed. 4, we've done approximately, since we started, over $4 million of services provided. We've responded to 5 hurricanes or tropical storms: Katrina, Rita, Ike, Lee, and Irene. We've responded to 6 floods in Gowanda, Cedar Rapids, the Catskills, and I just put the Catskills. I realize it's not a town, but we worked on so many towns, I just threw it in one. Athens and Sayre, Pennsylvania, Bucyrus, Allegheny, Portville, Hinsdale, New York. We've responded to 7 tornadoes, 2 in Alabama, 1 in Arkansas, 1 in Ohio. And again, for those of you who are really detail-oriented, when I say 2 in Alabama, 2 fronts. I mean, there were multiple tornadoes, but we counted them as just fronts. 1 in Massachusetts, 1 in New York, and 1 in Pennsylvania. And finally for Jerry, because I just want to make sure we're 100% on this one, I counted the tornado in Poplersville, Mississippi in Katrina, so I didn't recount it. But it was spurred by Katrina, so I didn't include that.
Sound like the insurance people now.
Yeah. Well, the reason I did it, I had a better reason than they did. Because I was on number 7, and that would have been 8, and I wasn't going to go above it, so I had to stop. 8, and I gave up at this point. We had 52 pallets, I already told you. That's still growing. We are constantly collecting things. I get calls almost on a weekly basis from a school in Haiti, from some school, hey, we need X, can you possibly come up and find a way to get it? I told you we've rebuilt 4 homes after fires, etc. We've done about 20 ramps this year. I didn't go back to previous years to see how many we did, but this year alone we've done about 20 ramps. And then a bonus, because you guys are all nice to be here and you let us talk at the last minute. We're on pace to do almost $1 million in services this year, from May 16th to this coming May. We're on pace to do about $1 million. And the reason it's so much higher than previous years is not that we've gotten that much better, although I think we've gotten somewhat better. It's just the way we've had, last year there was just storm after storm after storm. And that's where you can create a lot of value very, very quickly. We were, just one example, one day in Massachusetts, we did approximately $40,000 of work in one day. And that's based off of what people, and we'll see how it's based off of next. 1 million, how could it possibly be? A quote to clean a yard. We were working on a place, they said, there's no way we can afford to do this. They had already talked about that they had gotten a quote for $4,500. We went in, including the gas to run the chainsaws. We also blew out a chainsaw, we needed a new chainsaw, and we were done by lunch was $25. So we can add value very, very quickly. Other examples, just to show you, there was a ramp job, a wheelchair ramp in Cuba that was quoted at $3,100. Our cost, including the lumber, which we actually ended up buying that we were not reimbursed on this one, was $515. So, I mean, we can do things really, really cheaply.
You're destroying the economy in one fell swoop.
Doing our best. This past weekend, we were up in Elkinville, and he needed handrails and a guardrail. He had been quoted $3,000 and $3,300 or something around. It was over $3,000. Our price, including everything, which again, we purchased everything for this one, was $200. So we really do things pretty cheap. Wrapping up the numbers, I decided to join Phil on the marketing side here for a second. And we have approximate out-of-pocket cost for this coming year, for this current year, of about $60,000. Total estimated services of about $1 million, and value of smiles, friendships, and hope is priceless. So that's my attempt at marketing. Spin-offs and coming events. So as we have grown, things have not quite fit in the umbrella of BonaResponds quite as well as they would have alone. And for transparency and for other reasons, we spun off Haiti Scholarships. If you're interested, HaitiScholarships.org. What we do is we raise money and fund schools in Haiti to put Haitians in school in Haiti. It is really cheap to put a Haitian in school. Elementary school is about $250 a year, roughly. High school is around $300, and college is somewhere around $400-ish. And this is a totally virtual organization. In fact, we have, I think, 7 people on our board, including, I'm the president, but the vice president, who I talk to probably 3 times, 4 times a day. I've never met in my life. We meet regularly by Skype and everything else, but I've never met her. We have plans for this coming year. Right now, we have 35 students right now. Our plans are to get it up to 50 for the fall. And we have lots of schools doing Haiti helper programs through this, where they raise money, they adopt the students, so like they adopt a 2nd grader in Haiti, and then they become pen pals with that person. It's a really cool, really cool program. The new one, which is just being announced now, and I will tell you, if you are really following what's going on in Haiti today, literally today, Yale announced they were doing something very similar. So until this morning, I had no idea, but Yale is now doing something similar. We are doing online courses, and the courses are going to be taught by teachers from around the country, around the globe, really. I've lined up teachers from a lot of my friends from other schools and people who volunteered down there. We do a class, and the classes are not exactly like we think 3-credit classes. They're going to be 1-credit classes. You watch a series of about 12 to 15-minute videos or less, and then you have a test. And what we've done is we've rented spaces in schools in Haiti. We have currently have 12 computers donated for this, and what we're doing is setting up a place with a proctor in Haiti that they can take the classes for free. They will be taught in English or wherever. If I get teachers from Spain, they'll be taught in Spanish, whatever, but we'll have Haitian and Creole and French subtitles on it. I think, honestly, it's going to be the biggest thing I've done. I think it's going to be bigger than BonaResponds in the future. It was, and I probably shouldn't tell this since Jeff's in the room, but it was the first time, literally the first time I've ever thought, wow, I've really just got to quit Bonus and just do this full time, because this is going to be so cool. I think this is just going to be, I'm ecstatic about it. So, that's the recap, that's what we've done, what we're going to be doing, etc. We've worked at over 300 sites, well over 300. I quit counting when I saw pictures of 300. We've had over 3,000 volunteers. And there's so many stories. Every single story, every single event has a story that is just staggering in some cases. I think we should write a book. In fact, a book is at least tentatively in the works. I don't know if you've been interviewed yet, Jerry?
Very good company.
Okay, you're on the list. I know you're on the list. So a book is in the works.
I'm not on the committee.
What's that?
We're trying to decide whether it counts for tenure.
Oh, I'm not good. I'm a co-author editor. That's it. I'm not writing it. I'm just I'm not. So there's so many stories. I did not have any idea where to begin. I think my favorite, and I don't know if I have a favorite. I could do this I could talk for the next 10 hours on this. But I think my favorite one comes from Guanda. And this is iffy, but one of my favorite ones comes from Guanda. So call it whatever you want. Call it an all-hands meeting, is what we generally call them. At the end of the day, we talk about what we've done. Well, in Guanda, it was different, because in Guanda, a lot of the time we were working with people that didn't hang around for the end of the day. In fact, in some cases, we're not allowed to. Right? We were working with prisoners. And when the warden said it's time to go home, they had to leave. So we decided to change the plans. And what we did was that day we had our reflection meeting, whatever you want to call it, at lunchtime instead. So just like this, everyone we ordered whatever. I think the homeowner that day bought subs for everyone. They were eating. And we got talking and said, so what's the most memorable thing that you've done? They've been working all week at this point. What's the most memorable thing you've done this week? And each person went through and was telling, each of the prisoners went through and was telling something they did. And two of them just were staggering to me. One was that, actually three were staggering. One was, I petted a dog. I was like, okay, hey, congrats. And he goes, no, you don't understand. It's the first time in 28 years I petted a dog. I've been in prison for 28 years. I am out. You have no idea what it means just to be out helping. It's staggering. So that was somewhat moving to me. The next person, literally the next person who was talking, said, I think the most memorable thing happened when we were at a house, we were working at the woman was 81 years old, and on her porch in a wheelchair, and she couldn't help us, she couldn't, but we were taking garbage, mud, etc., out of her basement. And she called me over, and she said, you're an angel. And he said that I had never, this is the guy talking, I've been in and out of detention centers and then prison since I've been 12 years old. No one in my entire life told me I was any good for anything. That's the first person that called me an angel ever. And to me, this is him talking, to me I now see, I'm getting out in 3 years, I now see that I can contribute to society in some way more than just stealing stuff or doing something. So, I mean, again, I don't know how you can really top that. But I think I did. We went back to work that afternoon. We went back to work. And we were working in a basement, and there was this guy, we were literally like right next to each other, and I talk a lot. An awful, no? I'll shut up for a second. It's boring in a basement. There was no radio at this one, so literally it was just talking to keep everyone moving. And I'm telling people, this is, work harder, and we're joking around. And I was like, man, you're so slow. You think you've been in prison your entire life or something? Get out and get to work. And they loved it. They thought it was all, except one kid, one guy. One guy just didn't say a word, and he was the one right next to me the entire time. So, anyways, we go on. And we're leaving. We say that we finished the job. It looks 1,000 times better. We're leaving. The warden says, "Okay, get in the van." And the one guy who had not said a word to me all day calls, "Jim, can you come over here? Jim, I got to talk to you." I'm like, "Okay." And literally going through my head, he wants me to sneak him drugs somehow. It's not going to happen. And he goes, "Did you mean what you said?" And now I'm like, "Okay." What? What did I say? So I said, "What did I say?" He goes, "That you're open to anyone, and that when, if you want to go on a trip, you could come on a trip with you and work in the next place." And I said, "Yeah, of course, we're open to absolutely anyone." And he goes, "When I get out, I'm going to look you up, and I want to go on a trip with you." Now, I don't know when that's going to happen, but to me, that was, I really hope it works. So I'm really excited. Before I should use the whole time, why don't you guys tell stories, something that is memorable to you?
Okay. Well, I just wanted to talk about my first time at BonaResponds was my freshman year, spring semester. We went down to Burlington, Mississippi for golf work, and I really didn't know a lot about BonaResponds when I went down there. But after I was back, I really wanted to stay involved. I made so many friends down there, and I guess looking back through the years, my 5 years here, which is incredible, BonaResponds has been such like a social aspect for me, just going out and meeting so many people, not only from the university, but from the community in general. Steve?
Alright, well, going off that, actually, Phil and I, one of my best friends here, actually we met, I was a freshman, it was welcome days, and we were working together, and we both discovered that we were Eagle Scouts, so we kind of had that service thing going on. And we have a house in Allegheny with all our friends, so stuff like that, and like going to Alabama this year right after the tornado, was pretty intense. I felt like it was like Nagasaki. Like there was, everything would be fine, and you drive 2 minutes down the road, and it was just flat. Everything. There was a neighborhood like Allegheny, just flat, and just doing the smallest things for people would be like moving debris, cutting trees in their yard. It just made them so happy and so thankful. And the best part about it is that when people in the community see you doing that, they are willing to come out and help little kids, old people. It's great. So, and you meet a lot of fun people along the way.
Sure, I didn't know you would be here. Would you like to throw a story in?
Yeah, I think probably my biggest memory or most impressive rolls around Enterprise. 2 of them.
Okay.
Number 1 was, stand up here, the fact that we were able to go there so soon. I mean, I believe that tornado hit maybe on a Thursday afternoon. And
Thursday night, yes.
Saturday
morning. Yep.
Saturday morning. And again, much to the astoundment, because we beat the Red Cross there. And explain that we're from New York, and they're like, no. Seriously, listen to us talk. We're not from around here. And then Tuscaloosa, a couple years later, and this is to show you how memorable this is. I forgot the guy's name. But we were working with a lot of other people who would come and work with us for a day, and we were helping clear out a pastor's home who his congregation was worried because he wasn't taking care of himself. Trying to take care of them because his congregation was just devastated by the tornado. And this couple was helping us wrap the I-beams from one of their trailers from around the tree, unwrap it. Got to talking to them. And I usually don't talk to people as much as I talked to this person. And asked his wife, he and his wife, where they're from. And he said, oh, we're from South Central Alabama. They were from Enterprise. And they actually had seen people come there. And he decided that when he saw what happened in Tuscaloosa, that they would go in and they basically just packed up their trailer and were living in the trailer for a couple of days, just going where they needed to do. So what you do makes an impression.
Yeah. There's one other story from Enterprise that I think is still staggers me to this day. We were working, and there was again, we were open to everyone, so a local community person was working with us, and she was a high school girl, and she wasn't doing much. She really was not working very hard, and so she looked like she was just not happy to be there. And one of our leaders went to her and said, why don't you go sit down? You don't need to be here. We can handle this. We'll take care of it. And she goes, no, I have to do this. And they said, no, you don't. We can handle it. And she goes, no, just let me talk for a second. And she said that she got hurt in the tornado. And she was in the high school when the tornado hit. And her best friend jumped on top of her. And that's how she hurt her back. The stuff fell on her. Her best friend died. We were working at her best friend's family's house. And she said that she had to be there. There was just no question. And at that point you say, okay, you can work with us, and as slow as you want to go, you can do whatever you want. And I don't know, I mean, it's just like that everywhere, every trip there is something, maybe not to that degree, but almost to that level. And it doesn't need to be after disaster. The last story, and I'm just going to, I have it up there, so I'm just going to point it out quickly. Vinny, how do you explain Vinny?
He's a character.
Yeah. Vinny, Vinny was in Camden, New Jersey. Some of you probably remember Father Judd when he was here. Father Judd is now in Camden, New Jersey. So we went down there, we've been there twice now. We went down and we were working at Vinny's house. Vinny's house was dirty. He was ridiculously poor, and he had had a stroke. He had a stroke, he was in a wheelchair. He had 5 steps out his front door. The only way to get out was he would, and this is the visual of this is amazing. He would take his wheelchair out to the front porch. He would basically lift himself, one arm, out of the wheelchair. He would then throw the wheelchair down 5 steps of stairs. He would then fanny slide, butt slide down 5 steps, pick up the wheelchair again, climb into the wheelchair, and go somewhere. Now, it's not very difficult to understand. He didn't go many places. I mean, it was a chore to get out for him to do anything. He was pretty bad shape. I mean, he really was. He was depressed. He was everything else. We went there. We worked on. We built him a wheelchair ramp, and he wanted to help. And Rob Ryer, who was one of our leaders last year, did one of the most moving things I've ever seen. He went through and started nails all over the ramp so that this guy with one arm, he could hold one hammer, could go and finish them off, so he could say he contributed to his own wheelchair ramp. Amazing. That, if the story, again, one of those, if the story ended then, it would be amazing. We went back 6 months later, and we went back, we weren't, I mean, we all wanted to go see Vinny, but that was it. We went back for some other, for other houses, and we worked in other homes and built other wheelchairs. We went back, and Father Judd said, have you seen Vinny yet? And the answer was, no, we haven't seen Vinny. It was, well, he's probably not home anyways. He had changed so much because of the wheelchair ramp, because he could get out. He then had a scooter, he was driving around the neighborhood, he was teaching Sunday school. I mean, 6 months before, you would have had no idea, this guy looked like a bum. And 6 months later, he was contributing to society. And oftentimes, what we're doing is not moving the world, we're just making that world possible. And it doesn't work all the time. Sometimes we build a ramp. We built one in Hinsdale, and the lady ended up in a nursing home in 3 months. We built one recently in Olean this summer, and just last week the woman died. It doesn't always work. But when it does work, I mean, it opens up an entire life for that person again, which he or she didn't have. So, I guess just to wrap up our things, please get involved in any way. It's fun. It is the most fun you'll have. It is probably, and again, I don't know if I should tell this with Jeff in the audience, probably the only reason I'm still here. I've had job offers elsewhere, and I can't do BonaResponds elsewhere. So you pretty much have me locked in because of BonaResponds. Unless the CEO position is serious about opening, they want me to do water wells in Western Africa, which I don't think is going to happen. But come on a local work day. Just we do them every weekend. Come on a trip, even better. They're fun. They're, you know, I think you will get to meet students, enjoy students a whole lot more. I know. I mean, how many times in a day, in a week, do I hear from you two about anything? I mean,
Several times.
Several times a day, yeah. Get your friends involved in International Service Day. I mean, most people know people that live somewhere in the world, in the Milky Way. You know, get them involved. Have them do something. Help with the collection for Haiti. Or, if you have something else you want to do, let us know. One of our projects coming up for Earth Week this year, we're doing a river cleanup. And that literally came about because a volunteer said, you know, we should do something on the river. I said, good, let's do it. And we're going to be doing something April 21st on the river. So, yeah, that's what I got. That's what we have. We'd love to have people along, and follow us on Facebook, or, you know, friend us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, do whatever. There's thousands and thousands of pictures if you want to see them or whatever. What's that? What do you say? Yeah, we can do the slideshow. We can do this video. Where's the video we just made up? Or do you have any questions, comments, anything? Yeah.
One of the things I've wondered in reading about things you do is just the skill set. How do you, you kind of know how to do all these things? Do you consult with other people?
I consult with other people.
And then you just kind of oversee. I mean, I can imagine you've got 50 people on the side. I've done some things like this, and it's hard to kind of, one person have the skills and everybody else not, and kind of keep them going.
It works. It works. I mean, I don't know. You might want to.
I think, you know, a lot of the time we learn a lot from people that have like a lot of skills. Like my friend Jack came along, and I didn't even know he did some carpentry work over the summer, and he was teaching us things about, you know, building these wheelchair ramps that we've been doing for 2 years now that we never knew.
So fellow students might have some skills.
Sure, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And I call people all the time. I mean, we talk to contractors locally. I talk to contractors around the country, etc. So,
where does the money come from for the supplies?
You want to do that one? Donations. I mean, the short answer is donations. All donations. I guess there is, this year we got a $1,500 match from a donation from ExxonMobil. But even then, if you're looking at 60,000, 1,500 isn't that big a number. Usually, most of the trips people have to pay to go. So we pay, I don't know, I think last one was only 100, but most of them are about under 200. I don't think we've ever charged, well, since the first. We charged $250 at first. Since then, we've never gone over 200 on a trip. But a lot of it is just cheap donations, things like that. Our biggest expenses.
The students pay, and then they pay their transportation to get there?
They pay their transportation to get there, but that's their biggest expense on most trips.
And then how are they, do you feed them? Or?
Oh yeah, we eat. Most of us, at least once.
Have you seen this guy?
Peanut butter is cheap. I mean,
Peanut butter.
it's really cheap to feed people. We can feed people at less than $6 a day for 3 meals, so it's not that big an expense. The transportation is a big expense, and locally, lumber and stuff like that, because we oftentimes don't get reimbursed locally. But we've never said no to someone because they couldn't pay us. So I mean, we do it anyways, and some of them, and university officials can get me in trouble on this one. Some of them we lend it in the sense that we're supposed to be paid if they're going to pay, but we end up in, 6 months later, oh, I have $50 that I didn't have, and then we get a check for $50 from someone that reimburses us for it.
Like you mentioned the Gowanda one, which I remember being in early August of 2009. So that's like really off school year. How did you manage to get the volunteers together for that? You just have like a network out there? Just call?
Yeah, Facebook, Twitter. I don't think I've ever called anyone, I don't think, to say we have a job. But I mean, virtually everything we do goes online. And to the point where between Twitter and Facebook and blogs, and I mean, BonaResponds.org, everything's up there, and it just works. I don't know. It always works. It surprises me. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes you think there's no way we'd be able to pull this job off. We're leaving tomorrow and no one has signed up yet. But it always works.
And things do go wrong, but we find a way around things.
I mean, you almost can't plan for these things either, because you don't know what you're going to need when you get there. The alternative is to send a scout out in advance, but then you slow the whole process down so much that you're getting there when the Red Cross gets there and it's too late. So.
How much paperwork is involved? Are you registered as a charity or whatever?
We are. Well, we registered. We run the charity. That part. That's one reason we spun it up, because BonaResponds is through the university. Pay scholarships, etc. So there were some tax issues with whether they could give money to a school that was then paying another school to go. So rather than deal with any of that, we just spun off Haiti Charity. But most of the stuff, I mean, we're members of New York State BOAD, which actually has opened up some doors for us. One of the issues, and it's no longer much of an issue, but was credibility. In fact, Gowanda was an issue, where Gowanda called and did background checks on us before they would let us come over, because they were afraid that we were just people wanting to get into other people's homes. It was funny because we've become friends with them now, and they apologized profusely for doing it, and now just they let us over. In fact, we've got at least one, I think 2 students from the Gowanda area who came here as a result of what we were doing over there. So, yeah, but there's not all that much paperwork. I mean, there's some. But we've actually gotten pretty good at the paperwork, I guess. Although if you talk to our accountants, they may not think so. But like for instance, in Bennington, Vermont, this week, I got a Facebook message that they're setting up a long-term disaster recovery thing, and they would like to use our forms to process jobs, etc. So it's pretty easy, and it's almost all online. I mean, I can't stand carrying stuff around, so most of what we do is online.
Back again.
I was going to ask this as a joke, but it's become serious in my mind as I've been mulling it over. Do you find yourselves waking up hoping there's a disaster? No.
Not at all. I don't. Not even a little.
When was it junior year when there was it was like a disaster drought, I guess you could call it. There was no disasters. We had nothing but spring break.
We had no trip.
Or winter break.
Yeah.
Right.
But no, we have a job list locally, and I mean, even like now that we've got reputational capital, we've got Greenville, South Carolina, which now is no disaster, has asked us to come back. They have 12 ramps they would love to have someone do that they can't. So, I mean, we have more work than we could ever possibly get to. I mean, there are times, especially when you just don't want anything to happen. I mean, I know after Hurricane Irene, I was praying that Lee was going to be gentle, and it wasn't. But I was sick of flood work. I mean, it just, you don't want to go through it again. We did, and it was fine.
You talked about other universities following your model. Have any of your alums from your program taken it home and gotten involved and started something locally in their own town or whatever? Or
Well, to the degree that Chicago and Dallas, that's how they started, yes. Other than that, I don't know of anything. I know several of them have gone on and have, major career changes and now are in the Peace Corps where they've gone through wanting to be an accountant and they now are working in Africa in the Peace Corps. So I know that. I don't know of any specific locals that have started, but that's our next maybe.
How much of this is students and how much of this is alumni? And I'm particularly thinking for like some of the projects in the region where we have a lot of alumni.
Not that much alumni, really. I would say, I mean, when we know where we're going in advance, we send out a message, and I try. It's usually better through Facebook or something, but I've asked the alumni office to do it as well, and we do get some. But not tons.
So you've done some feelers in that direction, but you haven't been aggressively trying to tap the alumni market or the alumni population.
Sure. I will say that I have not been aggressive enough. Yes.
It was not a rebuke. It was a question.
Yeah. No, I have tried, and they haven't been ready for it yet.
Mm-hmm.
It'll happen. I'm very convinced. And when it does, the people who have come loved it, and all say they're coming back. It's just that, I mean, most of them have jobs, most of them have I mean, it's just, it's a tough thing to get. In many ways, and I'll speak for myself, it's often easier for me on a trip, even though we're working from, I don't know, 8 till 6 or 7, whatever time, it's easier because here, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm still going down and working at the store at night, I'm still teaching, preparing, test, correcting, etc. So it is, in some cases, getting away is the easiest part of it.
How many discrete individuals do you have working in, say, in a year, and then how many typically on a project?
There's very high variance in that one. I would say in a given year we have 500.
How many St. Bonaventure people, students or students faculty?
300.
Yeah. Between 3 and 4, I'd even say that.
Yeah. Well, last year was an outlier because last year we had 500 in one day working in Riley Center, so that was an outlier. But
Jim, do you have people challenge you in regard to building codes in various states or locales?
Yeah,
and
a little.
What about, do people ever ask you to slow down? The insurance people have to document the incident before you can.
It happens. Yeah, there's no question. Usually pictures are good enough documentation. They say go ahead and clean it up. But that is definitely, we have, there are some jobs that you say, well, we'll be back next week if we can, and if not, it's not going to. I mean, someone else has to do it because of that. Typically on code things, I mean, clearly on the housing, when we're doing like insulation stuff, we've had to stop because they had to come and inspect the wire and all that. Absolutely. Ramps, we've only really had one big problem with ramps, and it was because we didn't file something in advance and we built it, and I am convinced to the second, they ended up looking at it and saying it was okay. It wasn't exactly to their code, but you could drive a truck over it. We were building it for, I hate to say it, but he's now become known as the 600-pound guy. And I mean, we overbuilt it so much that there's no question that it was safe. It was just, we didn't submit it and they wanted to see it in advance. But usually, not that big.
Any other questions?
Jared, anything? Same question about that. That's what it is.
I didn't know he was supposed to come, I would've said something.
Oh, yeah, okay.